enough, but
Okay. So
uh,
maybe then we can start. First of all, I would like to greet everybody present at this meeting. It is. It should be said that it is our traditional, because it is not the first. At least it is the second meeting between the Ukrainian students and the Turkish students, and two teachers also present. They will moderate somehow the meeting if there is a pause, I think. But I do hope there won't be any pauses, and we shall have just an interesting and useful communication. So we have announced that three topics will be included into our meeting. I think it will be possible to just widen the circle of our topics for discussion, for exchanging our views and opinions. But the main three themes are, first of all, education, because we are everybody, we are all included into the educational process. We are students, teachers of different educational establishments of different levels. It is quite a natural topic for us. Then, is mostly here young people are present, then youth and their different aspects of life. Then, as Ukraine now is in the state of a horrible war, and the war influences our life badly and quite sufficiently, so it is quite natural that the Turkish government, Turkey as a country, supports us and helps us in many aspects of solving our problems connected with the war. So it is quite possible that we will be able to discuss these issues, these questions, these aspects of our life, because Ukrainian students' life is now not very easy because of this war. For example, we have Lisa here in our meeting, and she fled from our town because of war last year. She lives now in Lithuania and works there and studies. And some of our students live now in Germany, live in the United Kingdom, because they tried to hide away, to be rather far away with all those shootings, bombing, shelling, air threats, and so on and so forth. And we had very difficult periods of our life in autumn and in winter because of blackouts. We had very great problems with huge problems with electricity, and it was impossible even to work online, because as our university is in 15 kilometers only from the Russian border, and they shell and shoot and bomb almost every day. So we work only online. So these 4-year students present here, they have worked offline only for several months, and then we had restrictions connected with COVID, and then everybody began to study normally. But then we were influenced by the war and online education, and the quality here is of great problem, because different regions have different problems with electricity, with internet connection, with air threats when the people are to be in shelters. So it is really a problem. So all these circumstances, all this environment is the essential part of our life, educational and youth and general aspects of life. Now it seems to me we have listened to a lot to me, and then maybe you will tell something, or your students will tell something, or ask, or maybe. So it is possible to take the floor and to ask, to tell, to comment on anything.
okay, thank you very much for the introduction, Professor. First of all, good morning all again. As Professor Vera told you, this is not the first time that we meet. We met about 2 years ago, I think, as far as I remember.
Mhm.
And it was a of course, the conditions 2 years ago were quite different than today. And we know your situation and we follow the news. We can understand that how difficult life in Ukraine right now. And but we always appreciate your strength and ability to fight back against Russia, and we really appreciate that. We hope that the war should end as soon as possible because whatever the reasons or whatever the intention, the war is something that we can never accept in this modern world. I know that there are a lot of pains going on and lots of things, bad things happening, but I hope it will end as soon as possible. Um, in terms of my students, let me tell you that they are students of English language teaching department. So they are going to be English teachers after about 4 years. But first of all, because of proficiency test, maybe they failed or maybe they didn't take the test, they have to take intensive English course for about 1 year. So I am the teacher that, one of the teachers that will give this intensive English course, and it's almost ended. This Friday we will have the final exam and then the proficiency test. So next year they will go to their faculty to get education about English language teaching. And today, yeah, as Professor said, we can talk about youth and education. We can talk about maybe your expectations from a good university. How should a good university be? And then we can outline the differences between the Turkish students' perception of a good school and also the Ukrainian students' perception of a good school. We can outline these differences. We can talk about what makes a teacher a good teacher. This is another suggestion that maybe we can talk about. And also we can talk about how to have fun and learn at the same time. Is it possible, or how is it possible? Or we can talk about how can we make learning more effective so that maybe we can improve the education quality, things like that. Thank you.
So the common thing between our students is that the fourth year students here will also have their final exams. They are finishing the bachelor degree program, and they had their practice at school. It was of course online, but still it was the practice and a kind of practice. Because lessons at school now can last, online lessons can last only for 25 minutes. It's very short period of time, but still these are the realities of the Ukrainian school education. And they know one of our topics is also what makes a good English teacher. So and they can maybe share their impressions of their practice working with pupils in such conditions, restricted conditions, but still. So who can ask questions or comment on something? Vera, maybe your question to Turkish students, to our Turkish colleagues.
Yeah, we have talked a lot as teachers, so it is your turn, ladies and gentlemen.
It is your turn to be active.
Yes. Anyone who wants to share his or her ideas about being a teacher?
Ira Filipenko. Ira, where are you? I cannot see you, but you are to ask the question. Okay. You can.
Thank you very much. Hello,
I see
everybody. Yeah, I really appreciate that I'm here with you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure for me to be here with you. Well, my question is, what kind of work do you prefer? Do you prefer teamwork or work face-to-face or e-classes work? What kind of work do you prefer while teaching English?
It is the question to the teacher.
It's students, teacher, it doesn't matter. I'm glad to hear everybody.
Okay.
Okay, maybe Fazilet, you would like to answer, or I'm not going to choose anybody, just anyone who wants to answer to that question. What kind of...
I think face-to-face is better. I prefer face-to-face because it's really easy to convey the thoughts and the information in that way. I think that.
So right, you are face-to-face is the most effective because it is communication. Online communication is good, but there are many drawbacks in that, especially when we have such problems with internet. And the consciences of students, they are not always very responsible. They join sometimes and just hide away, no picture, no sound. And I have to just look for their response. Sometimes it happens.
Professor, right now your school is closed. I mean, do you have online lessons or do you have face-to-face lessons?
I have told you that we, as our university, is only very close to the Russian border, and it is forbidden to have classes or offline classes, face-to-face classes. In the if the educational establishment is situated within 25 kilometers, where shelling can reach. But on the other territories of Ukraine, school may work or university may work face to face only if there is a reliable shelter, because not no place in Ukraine can be seen as safe, both in the east, in the south, in the west. So they bomb and shoot missiles everywhere. That is why only this is the first uh, students of bachelor program who are going to graduate this June, but they have worked face to face only for several months. The majority of time they worked because of COVID and because of the war. They have worked mostly offline, online, and offline were only the beginning, the first term, and several months when we had the opportunity to work face to face, mostly online, and now only online.
Actually, we also have online lessons because of the earthquake. You know, we had a devastating earthquake in February. More than 55,000 people died, unfortunately. So since then, we are doing online lessons. But the first semester was face-to-face. And yeah, of course, many of my students, many of Turkish students prefer face-to-face lessons than online lessons. We think that they are much more effective. On the other hand, sometimes online education is the best option, depending on the circumstances. Uh, so we are having the same thing, I think, online lessons at the same
I
time.
know, because in March I was at the University of Niğde for a week to teach, and our student, one of our students, is still there, and it is still online because of the earthquake. They are very close, and so the guest house and the other premises, so they are occupied by the people who had to fly to flee, to run away from the earthquake and the consequences. And when I was there, two faculties were from the other university worked there, dentistry and medical faculty. And now, because of the elections, so which took place 2 weeks ago and on Sunday, so they still work. That university also works only online, no offline classes. So it was just common between us, online because of one tragedy and online because of the other, but still online. It was a united uniting factor. So
Um, how about her second question? She also asked about teamwork or individual work. Could you guys, what do you say about that? Do you prefer teamwork or individual work?
so who can answer? Our students.
I think teamwork is more efficient because we can give different perspectives and different ideas to one subject. So I think, yes, teamwork is more effective.
Also, in terms of having fun, when you are working as a team, it is, I think, more fun. When you play games as a team, I think it's more fun. What do you think?
Of course, because we communicate with each others, and when we communicate with each others, we have fun a lot. Like No one loves to do things alone.
No
Everyone's
one.
no one.
It's a bit overgeneralization, I think, because some
Um,
people prefer to work alone.
I think they think like that, but it's not effective, or it's not. I don't know. Sometimes we should communicate with each other to learn. Also, especially in learning English, because it requires a lot of practice to speak and to write.
Yes.
So,
When you're learning English, you need to you need to be interactive.
of
So
course,
in terms
and
of
it
interaction,
depends
teamwork
on,
is the best. Yes.
yes, it depends on our characters, of course. But I think if you want to speak better English, you should communicate with people who speak English.
Thank you so much, Benin. Thank you.
So then it
You're
is
welcome.
just a great opportunity to improve your English skills, speaking skills in English, because different people are present. And Lisa asked the question, and she has some maybe problems with the internet connection, about the peculiarities of education in Turkey. So which kind of peculiarities could you name as very special just for Turkish education?
Um, could you explain what do you mean by peculiarities?
The things which are typical only for Turkey, maybe.
Well, Benin is from Iraq, by the way. Let me introduce her.
Uh-huh.
She is not Turkish. All the other students are Turkish. Yeah, what is unique for Turkish education system, or when you are learning something in Turkey? What is unique? Would you like
Then
to?
being quite possible that you can compare your education in your country and what you see in Turkey.
I think in Iraq we focus a lot of English in schools, and we should everyone in Iraq should learn English because we deal with a lot of Americans in Iraq, thanks to the petrol we have. So we have a lot of factories in Iraq, so that's why we should learn English. But here, I don't think that it's very important to learn. But I think it's yeah, I think it's a good education. They have a good education skills and they have a good teachers. Also, I think because of their technology, and it's very useful and effective the way that they teach. Um, so yeah, I
It
think
is.
it's yeah, it's good to learn here in Turkey, better than Iraq, because we in Iraq we don't have that technology and that proficiency in some areas.
Mhm. I see. So you have a great, it is always a great opportunity to go abroad
Of
and to
course,
compare and to see the advantages of your own country and the
others,
advantages of the other system of education, and to make friends with the people depending to the maybe to the same religion, but to the other culture, to the other traditions.
of
It is
course,
always great. That is why this is the sense of our meetings, to exchange our ideas, views, opinions, impressions, and so on and so forth.
of
So,
course.
our students, так, наші студенти швиденько питання згадали. Або гості, які тут є присутні. Так, Іра, another question from you.
Yes, sorry, I have another question. Have you ever felt that you give up learning English? Those periods when you don't want to learn English, when you don't know why you learn English, because I think everybody has such kind of period. I hope, please.
So the period, the time of despair, when you lose the sense of this activity. Have you ever experienced these things,
Yeah.
such things?
Yes, I did. 2 years ago, I think, I chose English section, and I thought that it going to be easy. I thought that it was going to be easy, but it wasn't because there were a lot of words, I mean vocabulary, and it was really hard to learn them. And one day I thought that I should change my department. It was really hard, and at the same time we were learning grammar and reading. It was really hard, but mostly it was because of the vocabulary.
Who helped you to overcome that problem?
Actually, no one. Maybe my one of my
Your
teachers.
own inner strength helped you.
Yes.
Great. Then you are a strong person. Good for you.
Well, she's capable of doing many things.
Так.
Anyone else who had some bad times about learning English when learning English and then thought of giving up? Sude, maybe you would like to talk? Sude, can you hear us?
Так.
No. She's
Anya
not.
Salomina, are you here? Anya? Ні, нема. Karina. So our students are not so active, I should say. It's a pity.
Something I noticed, if I may mention, usually after online lessons, we made our students, we made it obligatory to turn on the cameras because online lesson is more effective when the cameras are turned on. But as far as I see here, most of your students turned off their cameras. So I think, do you force them to turn on their cameras?
So I have mentioned it is my biggest, greatest problem. So they try to be hidden somewhere. Maybe it is quite possible that they are really tired. It was not so much when we began to work online, but with the every new term when we are online, so they lost. It is maybe the peculiarity. It is great that it is possible to be connected with the people who stay now all over the world and they can join in the same class, in the same lesson. But very often I see this. So maybe this is the consequence of such long learning online. They do the tasks. They just, when I make them switch on, they switch on. When I make them speak, they can't do that, but not so great. It is really so. And I can conclude that it is the result of a little bit lost interest or motivation to speaking, because face to face, Benin, so has mentioned, Benin, right?
Benin.
Benin,
Yes.
right? She has mentioned that it is great to see the people teaching
Of
English.
course.
Speaking is good when you see, when you feel this atmosphere. Of course, technologies are great,
Of
but
course, but
people's
not
connection,
sometimes.
live communication, feeling these people, the atmosphere, live atmosphere is much more important.
Of course,
And
looking in
these
their
are the
eyes and
negative.
speak, it's more.
So these are the negative consequences of our very long online learning. So
Of course.
Actually,
as soon
let me tell you that when we explained that decision that their cameras should be turned on, the first reaction was really, why are we doing that? I don't want to turn on my camera, etc., etc. So the first reaction, of course, was a bit overreacting against this rule. But later, I think it's
Ilyas,
cameras on, Amazon turned on because they
so,
see each other,
yes,
they see their reactions.
there was a stopping, and so will you repeat the last words?
I don't know where should I begin. I mean,
But
first,
later on, overreaction, and then what happened then?
they overreacted because they didn't want to turn on their cameras. And in the first lessons, we had some difficulties to convince them to turn them on. But I think afterwards, it's better to have lessons with cameras on. Don't you think, guys? I don't know if you're happy to turn on your cameras still.
I think online education, students take online education less serious than face-to-face. So that's why it's like that. Some of them, yeah, I will watch it again. I will attend to the class again. So they are like what they call I forgot the word.
Irresponsibility, I should say.
Yes.
I think.
Ой.
Procrastinator.
Українські учасники, будь ласка, повмикайте свої камери, щоб нам не було соромно. Іра, де ви є? Ну, понятно. У них інші справи.
I'm here with you. I'm with the camera.
But we are to see you. Я не знаю, кого ви там ще бачите. Ліза пропала. Іра,
I
кого
see
ви ще бачите з
everybody.
наших?
I see everybody. Just
I see
changed
everybody.
the настройки. The change the
Settings.
website of
The
my
settings.
Google Meet, setting of my Google Meet. That is
I
why.
see. Так, Лера, де ви там є, включайте своє відео і задавайте питання. Лера. Ну, це дуже велика. Так, а ваші, Іра, не будуть задавати питання? Then maybe the Turkish students should be more active and ask questions to me or to our students. Welcome, please, because you have answered only.
Can I ask a question?
Welcome.
I actually want to ask about Turkey's position at your war.
Turkey's position in our war?
Yes.
It seems to me that the question to the Turkish side, to the Turkish government, to the Turkish president about the Turkish position. But as we see it from our side, it is rather active. First of all, it was, of course, Turkey tried to declare the independent and side and independent position. So it declared not to be on the either of the sides because it supported Ukrainians in their territorial integrity, and it supported the Crimean Tatars in the occupied territory, and it helped us with Bayraktars, famous Bayraktars, unmanned flying vehicles, but so devices, but still it did not support sanctions. It did not follow those things which were introduced by the European Union and the other Western countries, and it tried to be the to be in between the conflict. And last year in spring there were the negotiations between the Ukrainian and Russian politicians in Istanbul, and then it was very great that Turkey supported Ukraine in the grain treaty, grain agreement, when it was there was the negotiation between the United Nations Organization, Ukraine and Turkey and Russia, 4 sides, and several two-sided agreements were signed, and Ukraine got the opportunity to unblock the ports of the Black Sea and to sell the wheat and other food, different kinds of grain to the countries which needed that grain, that food in Europe, in Africa, for example, in Asia, and also Ukraine had the opportunity to get the money from that food and our storage premises, so they were freed from the previous year harvest. So it is mostly the relations are positive for Ukraine, and we feel this positivity. And as the president is the same after the elections, so we hope that the position will only improve in the conditions when Russian becomes weaker and the Russian army is losing the war So we hope for support and for cooperation, because in educational aspects, so we do cooperate. In scientific aspects, we cooperate, and it is great. And our human relations, so contacts are positive, and it is really great. Though there are different, war situation is really horrible, and it influences both morally and materially. For example, a few weeks ago, the beginning of May, there was a bomb, very severe explosion, and my house was damaged a little bit because it was only in 2 streets, and have the opportunity to travel to a country and to communicate and to be just happy young people. So maybe not educational and war question. Victoria, your question.
How do you see the role of technologies in the learning process?
So the role of technologies, and maybe which technologies are the most important for educational process, for teaching and learning. So yes, maybe you will somehow.
Okay, actually, I was expecting my students to speak. Yeah, the role of technology is changing a lot, because nowadays we are, as teachers, we are trying to overcome one big difficulty. It is the chat GPT, and artificial intelligence, because we write essays. We want our students to write essays, and if they use ChatGPT, it is quite easy to write an essay and copy or imitate. So we are trying to find ways to overcome how we can handle, how we can stop our students to use ChatGPT, or how we can understand if they use ChatGPT or not. As teachers, we are working on that. I don't know, as students, what's the role of technology, what they think about that. Of course, artificial intelligence makes everything easier. On the other hand, there are some drawbacks as well. So maybe my suggestion on that, you can use artificial intelligence, you can use ChatGPT to get some ideas, to be inspired by it, but not 100% take everything from that, because it can lead to some kind of laziness, and then it can also kill your creativity. So we are trying to overcome this kind of new technological drawbacks. There are pros and cons of everything, and there are pros and cons of artificial intelligence as well. The thing is, you must create something from yourself, not actually somebody else's ideas or some kind of technological help. I like technology. Technology is my favorite, and I always use it in my lessons or during my life. It's inevitable, indispensable, but also sometimes we should, give a break using technology, if you ask me.
So thank you. By the way, on
Hi.
Thursday, we are going to have another meeting with the teacher of your university, and he is a mathematics teacher. He once came to our university. He was in Lviv, and we are still in connection, in good business relations, educational, and so he is going to have the class on artificial intelligence, because it is his very close to mathematics and to computers idea, digital things. So if your students are interested in that, they can also just join this class. But when you said that you allow the students to use a little bit the idea from that chat, so it seems to me it is the way for the students to just to percept it as the allowance to use it, and the percentage is going to be not 20 to 80, but vice versa maybe, and then
But
you will have the problem of
in this modern era, you cannot stop everything 100%. You cannot ban anything. There's always one way that they can use to overcome this kind of, bans. So we thought maybe it's more beneficial to give a little bit allowance and then make the benefits from this artificial intelligence.
Thanks. Artyom, your
Oh, I
question
hear. Yeah, yeah, yes.
in the video, is it possible?
Oh, sorry, it's impossible because I'm renewing my room and I have a little bit mess here. Sorry for that. Sorry for my
Okay,
camera.
then your question without, we can see your picture.
Yes, maybe my question is for Mr. Saikili. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's me.
Yes. Do you think that narrow systems like ChatGPT it's harmful for students' life, or it just makes it simplified students' life?
Well, I think it's both harmful and also advantages. Sometimes, as a student, I remember my years as a student. I was just running out of any ideas, and I was facing difficult problems. So, and all you can do was to ask a teacher if you can find one, or ask your friends. Uh, Nothing more, you know. Or you can just search on the internet. But ChatGPT makes everything quite easy, you know, and it's very useful. It can give you the best ideas as long as you describe your problem very well. So there is also a language between you and artificial intelligence. You must be able to ask good questions so that you can get good answers. If you are not able to ask good questions, then even artificial intelligence will not help you.
Artificial
Yes, thank you.
intelligence needs the other side intelligence.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Professor.
Yes, narrow system dangerously effective. Yes.
Yes, I think I mean,
Do you
there are
think that narrow systems can conquer our human world in future?
everything we see in the movies, like science fiction movies, are happening. So I think yes, like the Terminator movie or other things, artificial intelligence, I think will devastate everything and will control humankind. I strongly believe that, but we can just not know when it's going to happen. The world is a strange place because even today there are wars. You know, we live in the modern era, and we talk about democracy, we talk about human rights, etc., etc. We talk about climate change, and then one country attacks another. It's so. I mean, I don't understand this world really because we are a developed world, we are developing or something like that, and still there are some wars. People use bullets to kill each other, etc., etc. On the other hand, on some other part of the world, people are talking about neurosystems or artificial intelligence or electric cars, etc., etc., etc. So it is hard to understand where these human beings are going. So if you ask me, yes, artificial intelligence is really intelligent and maybe more intelligent than humankind. One day it will
Some
be
of
more,
them.
and then it will control us. That's my opinion.
Thank you.
So you are pessimistic about that.
Definitely, I am pessimistic. Yeah.
I see. So there is a question from Lisa in the chat. Is it necessary to pass the entrance exams for your university? He's interested.
Shewal, would you like to answer to that? Or Funda? Yes, Funda, you can answer.
Okay. Turkey has an exam-based system, so it's necessary to get enough grades to go university.
Like how many exams do you have to pass?
2 parts. It involves 2 parts. Yeah.
2 exams to enter the university. I see.
Yes. Yes.
Funda, do you think it is fair exam system? You know, our education is based on exams, and do you think it's fair?
Yes. It's fair, I think.
Because if you study, you can study
Yes.
at university. So if you don't, even if you are very intelligent, you cannot study at university. So it's quite fair.
Of course, education, studying is a kind of work. If you don't work, no results, and you are not paid. So, I mean, here you paid your payment at the university and education. Your payment is for first of all your grades, and then your skills and knowledge. So you come here and work hard, and then you have results. So the other student who told us about her problems at times. So it was about working hard, which led to some depression, right? So, but then the problem was overcome. Кто у нас тут ще є? Vika, maybe you have a question. Lera, Valeria, you're welcome.
How to involve students?
Лера, громче, чуть-чуть голосніше.
How to involve students in creativity and critical thinking, and it is necessary for studying.
Creativity and critical thinking. A very nice question, thank you. So who are... do students of your university pay a lot of attention to 21st century skills? By the way, you have mentioned teamwork. Irina asked this question. Teamwork, the ability to collaborate, so is also the 21st century skill, but creativity. And I know about creativity because I follow your page in Instagram, and I saw singing, dancing, role playing. So I know that it is really good as in terms of creativity. So I followed all these posts. But as for critical thinking, is it an inevitable part of your educational work?
Unfortunately not. I wish it were inevitable. But you know, critical thinking, especially in the Turkish students, is something that we really need to improve. You know, usually Turkish students have some quite, you know, how can I say, the same answers. They say, for example, do you like this? Yes, I do. Okay, why? When it comes to explain the reasons, they cannot really explain why they like something or why do they think like that. So they prefer like yes, no answers. But when they try to explain the reasons, we need to improve them, I think. Critical thinking is very essential in learning process. Also in a ability to express yourself. On the other hand, actually, it's my personal thoughts, personal opinion. I'm not really happy with the critical thinking skills of my students. I don't know if they disagree with me. I always force to ask them some creative questions, some critical thinking questions, and I have to push them to get some answers. Isn't that so, ladies and gentlemen? Am I right or wrong?
So is it my question? I will try to be very polite in asking. Can it be influenced? I mean, this critical thinking by the considerable role of religion in the life of your students? Because in the university, in the campus, I saw the mosque, and it was Ramadan, the end of March, and I heard the religious singing. So is it possible to say that there is some influence in this aspect of religion?
Frankly speaking, I cannot say that religion influences our education a lot. Of course, during some special months like Ramadan, the effectiveness of education decreases because the students are fasting mostly. But there are also non-fasting students as well. You know, in our religion, everybody is responsible for himself or herself. So we cannot force anybody to do something or not force on vice versa. The thing is, I think the most effective thing is the family in Turkish education that affects the critical thinking. The family is not really, sometimes families are not really open-minded, or they don't, how can I say, promote critical thinking. They just promote some success it's the definition about success. The family thinks that if their son or daughter becomes a doctor, this is the success. But they don't promote being a creative doctor, or they don't promote being a doctor in critical thinking situations. So the thing is, not religion, but family and approaches, understanding life. These kind of things should be different from families. And the other issue is about reading. Unfortunately, I don't know what the situation in Ukraine is, but unfortunately in Turkey, students don't read a lot. So if you don't read a lot, your creativity or your critical thinking cannot be improved. You may have no ideas, or just you can have very simple ideas. But if you read a lot, you have various ideas. If you meet different people, you have various ideas. So I think this is the cause of that problem.
So it is right. Yeah, it is the cons of this issue of technologies, the back side of technology. It is great to use a lot of technologies, but when you don't read, when you only watch videos, clips, so use clip thinking. So it is the drawback of our modern time. And as for, thank you for profound explanation. I got it. So the family, the traditional families with maybe the subordination, the eldest generation, so they say something and the youngest have to agree. So this is the tradition which prevents from developing critical thinking, and then the students bring this mentality to classes, to education, and as a result we have this. Sometimes it also happens here, but not Ukrainian families are more open-minded, but there is great difference, and I'm sure that in Turkey it is the same. Big cities and provincial territories, so small cities, small towns or villages. So there is difference between the families in big cities, and it seems to me the same situation in your country.
Yes, quite similar.
So Ira wanted to ask question, it seems to me.
Yes,
Ira.
I apologize. I want to ask your students. I want to speak with them, if you don't mind.
Of course.
We are only for it.
Thank you for this opportunity. Well, which type of lesson do you like? When there are so many games, or when you just sit and listen to your teachers? And what topics do you enjoy most?
We are having the air threat siren howling outside.
Can I talk?
You're welcome.
Yes, please.
I think I prefer lessons with games, because when we play games, play games like guessing the meaning of the word or something, it is more easier to keep in your mind, because we always play games in our lessons, and in that way I don't even have to revise the words again for my exams.
Oh, you're not stressed out how to prepare, for example, for test, for repeating, and it doesn't bother you to keep in mind all words, and you just have fun. Is it right?
Yes, it's
Okay.
So I should explain that Ira is the student who had 2 practices at school already, and she speaks like a little bit experienced teacher from teachers. Both she's a student still, but she has some teaching experience, and that is why her questions are very, very exact and detailed to the in terms of the educational process.
Yeah,
so
she's
maybe
great.
any other questions?
She's definitely great.
So
Thank you for being here.
Ira is still, so some problem with the internet, so it sometimes happens.
Yes.
So any other questions? Так, что тут у нас еще є?
Maybe
I can see only some of the...
ask questions.
Artyom, your question.
What is your attitude to the role-play method? in your it's for our Turkish maybe friends more question.
Do you like to have role plays in your during your lessons
Yes.
in your students' life?
Is it to me or to my students?
To the students maybe, and then you will join us.
You can
Okay.
also ask.
Guys,
Maybe.
what do you think about role plays
Answer.
during the lesson?
Artyom asks this question because my previous students group, so they used to have the role play and recorded role playing as the summing up to the topic. For example, we speak about music and then we organize the role play the last lesson, and we just record it, and it is very interesting to return to those. Then cinema and role play, then teaching profession and role play. And we were unlucky to organize such role play with this group because I have told you, I just began to teach them how to do that. And then we had to go online, and online it is almost impossible to do that. And I miss it really, because with my previous students, I had many such role plays, and they are recorded, and it is possible for me to return and to remember how beautiful it was and how interesting, because they were creative, they used critical thinking, teamwork, and communication skills and whatnot. That is why this question.
So what is your attitude? Is it good or bad maybe?
As a teacher, I see myself in every lesson like on stage, and my students are not only the the audience that sits. They should sit and watch me. So they're also participants in this stage. Role play is really important in terms of learning English, especially because it gives you to be able to practice your English, to be able to deal with difficult situations, unexpected situations as well. On the other hand, yes, some of my students don't like it because they always think that their English is not enough to express themselves very well. So they hesitate to take part in the role plays. It's about the atmosphere. It's the teacher's duty to create this relaxing and comfortable atmosphere. The other thing that students hesitate is about being laughed, because whenever they make a mistake when they are speaking English, or pronunciation mistake or something else, grammar mistake maybe, if the other students laugh at them, then they feel themselves terrible. So the teacher has to, find a way to prevent these other students to, laugh the other ones. Mistakes should always be welcomed, and we must be understanding each other. The English level of every student is different from the other students, so we must be respectful to other students' English level. When we don't do that, when we laugh at their mistakes, sometimes they are funny, really, it's a funny mistake, but we should be thinking before laughing at their mistakes. But role play is definitely something that I use a lot. I love a lot, because like 1 hour lesson is like 1 hour play. So I think role play is inevitable. It should always be here in the lesson, and I like role plays. I don't know if my students agree with me.
So to avoid the situation when the students laugh at the others, it was of course prepared things. We prepared during the whole learning process while working on a special topic. So we tried to prepare the elements, and then we got it together, and it was also very creative atmosphere in terms of costumes, and the whole situation was funny and humorous, and that is why it was impossible to it was possible to laugh, but not at each other, but at the situation. So it changes the attitude to some mistakes. But of course, different students have different language skills. So it is but it needs rather a long work. And if you work with the students for only 1 year, maybe it is not so. And then you change the groups. So
Well,
I worked with them for 4 years, and it was easier for me. But this group was unlucky with COVID restrictions and the war. So
well,
thank
the
you.
role plays, I'm sorry to interrupt. The role play that I'm mentioning is a kind of spontaneous ones, like not really very well planned ones. Because if you make a very well planned role play, yes, it consumes a lot of time, it requires a lot of teacher's work, and also you need to rehearsal, etc., etc. So what I am talking about is just spontaneous role plays, like you finish a unit in the book, and suddenly there is a role play, small one. That's what I am talking about.
Uh,
But they are very
I fully agree, because spontaneous role plays were the elements of separate lessons, but at the very end we just collected all of them, improved, just dressed and recorded, because spontaneous it shouldn't be recorded. It should be really spontaneous, and just on that emotion it was present. But different kinds of attitudes are possible if they work, if the students are involved and emotionally active and speak. So it's okay, any kind is good.
actually, even after some small conversations, I always tell my students to give feedback or react to whatever they hear. For example, they ask a question and the person opposite to them answers the question, but they say, okay. It's not a good reaction. I always tell them to exaggerate a bit. Wow, wow, it's wonderful, it's amazing, something like that. As long as, the British people do that a lot in their normal everyday speech as well. So we should improve their reactions as well. When you get something as a reply from somebody, you need to give feedback or react to that information. It's a kind of role play as well, if you ask me.
I know.
Can I ask a question to the students here?
Welcome.
Okay. What's the most challenging part in learning English?
For you. So
For everyone.
No, I mean, you ask the student, for Ukrainian students, what is the most challenging part of learning English for you, to any student, right?
I can answer if you don't mind.
Of course.
Well,
Welcome.
I had been learning English 10 years at school, and the most challenge, the challenge that I faced with, that teachers didn't give us opportunity to talk. We are afraid to speak with your students, with native speakers. Oh, you move your hands. You're right. You agree with me. At university, I have more opportunity to speak, to talk in English, and I have a lot of words to say, but I can't. I just keep silent, and I can't to even say any words. That's the challenge I faced as a student and as a teacher. For me, my goal to let children understand that language is not like a monster or beast. Language is a game. Just don't be afraid, and use a lot of techniques and methods to improve your speaking skills. Yes, that's my
Good
answer.
one. Thank you.
Tool for communication.
I think,
Yes.
we have some fears inside us. Like if we speak, we will make grammar mistakes, or
Yes.
if we speak, they will judge us. I think this is in everything in life, not just in learning English. Some maybe, let's say, teachers or families put this inside us, put these fears inside us, so we are afraid of giving our opinion, or speak loud, or maybe saying something that we don't like. So I think, yes, the environment is so important to learn and grow.
Yes, I agree with you. Yes.
It is the psychological problem, not the
Yes,
educational.
of
So,
course.
and the problem is inside you. And if you are strong enough and you say, I don't pay attention to anybody, I will do what I like,
Whatever I
then
want.
everything's okay.
Yeah, sometimes like students should be some stubborn or like yes, I want to do that.
Not stubborn, but maybe too shy.
Yes, some of them, yes, are very shy and they have the fear of making mistakes. Like if I make mistake, oh, this is the end of the life or the end of my life. This is so wrong.
Everybody is making mistakes.
Yes, of course.
In Latin, there is a saying, errare humanum est. People are prone to making mistakes. It's quite normal, absolutely normal. If we and there is a saying in Ukrainian, only those who do nothing, they do not make mistakes. Everyone who does something, he makes mistakes. It's quite normal.
Yes, quite normal.
Yes, I agree with you. I definitely agree. So,
any other questions?
Who wants to speak?
Can I ask a question?
You're welcome.
What makes an English teacher a good one?
Okay, maybe we should leave the meeting, Professor, and then they can talk better.
So, it is quite normal for me because at the lessons of teaching methods, I ask my students to evaluate me as a teacher. So in the grade 100 the highest, 0 is the lowest one. So my educational skills, teaching skills, communication skills, perception skills, I'm rather democratic in that, and I tell my students about SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And I know that it is quite typical for the Western students to evaluate themselves. It's quite normal to assess their strengths and their weaknesses objectively. So I am quite open to such, because in this way, it is the easiest way not to assess the other student, but assess me. And I know what is good at me and what is not so good at me, with my skills. So sometimes the students are not very open and not ready, but some groups, so they are quite active and they can prove, these students, Lera and Victoria, so they can prove that we did this, we have this practice even online. So it's quite normal. What makes a good English teacher is the desire to teach, the desire to communicate. So it is the main idea. Even if you are well aware of everything, even if you know everything, but you do not have the desire to communicate and to teach and to share your knowledge with the others, it doesn't work properly. So the main thing is you're being open and being ready to share your knowledge and skills, and to have those knowledge and possess those skills. It's rather difficult. And I always tell my students that the things I was able to do when I was a new teacher, the first year of work, the things I was able to do when I had 5 years of experience in teaching, 10 years of experience, and now, so they are different, because a good teacher is always an eternal student, and lifelong learning is an inevitable part of teaching career, teaching working experience. It is my point of view, and I follow it. I like the proverb, preach what you pray, practice what you tell the students or pupils. So you may ask the other students, my students, if they confirm or not. Irina, can you try to be objective?
Well, a few weeks ago, I passed TOEFL exam that will allow me to teach English abroad. And I still remember the statement that I have found. Teachers, remember that English is not that something you should scare your students. Don't be so tricky for your children, and remember that without patience, without enjoyable, okay, enjoyable, let it be. Enjoy, you cannot be the real teacher. And I agree. I can see a lot of teachers who have a lot of theoretical knowledge, but in practice they are not very good. It's common, I think, everybody everywhere. But we should analyze yourself. Is it
Ourselves.
was ourselves? Was it effective? Was it okay for students? Did they feel free? Kind of questions help us to analyze and to find another way to teach English. So that is my
So you are
answer.
speaking about feedback, proper feedback.
Yes,
So
feedback.
you are always to feel the atmosphere and to realize if it is to the students' liking or not, and be flexible. It is also a
Yes,
very important thing.
flexible. Yes.
Definitely. My answer to that question would be a little bit simpler, maybe. I think good teacher is the one who never sits in the classroom. I mean, I used to have some English teachers at high school, for example. I never forget one of them. It was a lady, and all she was doing just, she came to the classroom and she sat, and then she never moved. And then she tried to explain or teach English by just sitting there. English is not a kind of informative subject that you can just demonstrate or show to people. A teacher in the English lesson, when he or she is teaching, he or she has to be active and also activate her students. You cannot do that if you sit there. You have to bring some games to the classroom. You have to bring some different activities. You just can't go with the book. It will be boring. And you have to create an atmosphere that everybody is interacting with each other, interacting with the teacher, also interacting with the other classmates. So I think a good teacher is the active one. That's it.
Active, involved, emotional.
In every aspect, he or she has to know how to motivate his or her students, how to make them speak, how to make them join the lessons, you know. But if you just go with the book, it will not be happening in your classes.
And one more important thing is the interest to the students as personalities,
Yes,
not to be detached.
yes, definitely.
Of course, I think we should make everything with love, like um, every lessons, not just English. If you do your job with love and care for your job, you will do it right, or you will do it in a good way.
And
Right.
I forgot to tell you that. Do you remember the English teacher that I mentioned? She was my English teacher at high school. Later, I learned that she has been attending all the conferences about English language teaching. She has a lot of certificates. She has a lot of knowledge about English teaching. Yet, she was nothing in the classroom. She was not showing. She was not reflecting what she has learned. If you are just learning for yourself, you cannot be a teacher. A teacher is someone who is reflecting whatever she or he has learned already. So this is the case.
Yeah, of course, people
I was
should.
really shocked. I was really shocked that I learned she had a lot of things in her CV, very thick CV, but in the classroom she was not really good.
So she was very theoretical, not practical.
I never forget her. I never forget her.
So she is the anti-example for you.
Yes,
The
yes.
example not to follow, never to follow.
Exactly. Some examples are examples that you should think that I shouldn't be like that. Sometimes they are bad examples.
Anti-example, right? Yeah. So
Well,
any other questions? Any other askings? Any other suggestions?
it's been like 1 hour and a quarter, I think. But
Is that too much?
I think we should end that because I have another lesson.
Ah. Okay.
It's a pleasure. It's really a pleasure to be with you, and we should do that again, maybe next year.
We shall do it again. I hope that we shall be able to do it with the beginning of the new year, academic year. I mean, September, maybe October will be good. Maybe you know, the International Teachers' Day is the beginning of October. It is quite possible to organize the meeting the end of September, just on the eve of this international. And in Ukraine, Teachers' Day celebrated on the first Sunday in October, with the 1st to the 7th.
Yeah, that will be lovely.
It will be really good. So then, thank you everybody for active. So the active participation was either speaking or active listening. It was really great. And active thinking, and maybe critical thinking in some periods of the lesson.
Exactly.
Thank you ever so much. It was really great. Good luck. Have a nice day.
It was a pleasure meeting you, everybody, and thank you so much for joining.
Thank you too very much. We do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Have a nice day.
Have a good day.
See you.
Goodbye. See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.